Hi guys, welcome to Robin Hood Diaries. Today, tonight, whatever. Thanks for joining me tonight. I'm gonna jump right in. You know me, because I hate to keep you guys. Tonight was previewed as me knowing every square inch of Western costume. Okay, so Western costume, you may have, I don't know, if you've seen Whatever Happened to Baby Jane and she goes to get her outfit for performing for that guy at the piano, that's where she's coming out of, that big, tall, like period building. It looks like it's from the turn of the century. So that's Western costume. Western costume was more than anything in the country. I mean, there was nothing that could compare to Western costume. Hollywood, Western costume, right? Okay. Now it's in some faraway place in the valley, like ranch land or whatever, because the acreage would be required. So, my experience with Western costume over decades. First of all, that tall building that you see, the antiqueness and if you Google it, that is not really anything. I mean, at one point, before the back end was sort of created and filled up, I guess, maybe they used that for costumes. When I was using it and when my mom was using it for about 2 decades, I don't really remember anything coming in and out of that tall building part, except that's where you went to pay for your rentals and so forth. So there was an administrative part, but it was on the ground floor. So the Western costume was the only game in town for everything that you would possibly need or could possibly. Okay, so the back end was like a loading dock. So you go behind, just forget that big tall building because that's nothing going on there. So you go around that building in the parking lot, there's a fat ass loading dock. I mean, it's very like walkie customer friendly, but it is a loading dock. And there is a huge like desk, not desk, but counter, that you could like toss clothes over and whatever. And there was a very heavyset guy who usually worked the counter, or I mean, it's like a ledge. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so you do intakes there, outtakes there. Anything that went through that dock area. So I knew everybody and they knew me because Liz knew everybody in the whole world, especially if it had to do with, costuming, because my mom wasn't just a stylist, like there with safety pins. I mean, she was a costumer, but she just couldn't create the costumes like my Aunt Bernadette could from scratch with a needle and thread. So you move past the dock area and there's a waiting area. So the only reason you would go there really is if you were an actor or actress or actor, as they say now, who was waiting for a fitting. That's basically it. Now, there may have been some costumers or stylists or whatever there waiting for something, I don't know, to get in, to do something. Liz never waited for anything. Liz was, she wouldn't be caught in a line for anything. So we would breeze right through. Now, this is weird because the waiting area past the loading dock is like up a few steps and it's this narrow little space. You could barely fit like 6 chairs in and a desk. You go through there and there is the mother load. Okay, so I spent a lot of time there, won't go into it. My mother, once I got a license, I became her indentured servant, which means do all the shopping and do all the returns and do all the purchases and everything. Well, I don't know, whatever she did. So I was as familiar with Western costume as she was. Now, so we breeze in, like whatever, always. And of course, then she knows everybody back there. Okay, so you walk into Western costume behind that tiny waiting thing that Mummy never waited in. First of all, she, again, a lot of the costumers and employees there, had been there forever, or they used to work for my mom or something. She knew them somehow. In fact, Danny Pintaro, his dad, from Married with Children, his dad worked at like Western costume, had fitted me, had worked with my mother extensively, and had worked at Western costume for, I don't know, like 30 years or something, 20, 30 years, God knows. So my mom would work with, God, I don't know what you would call them there, like not costumers, but well, let's just say employees who would, help you in and around what you needed to do depending on who you are and what you were doing it for. So my mom had a lot of interaction, sort of, in and out type things, quick fittings, never really on an actor, but just sort of make sure that everything's assembled right. She has enough. That's where she would work with like Danny Pintaro's dad, of like blah, 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 many, many, many millions of people. But the trip about this place, and I would get lost in it. That's why I didn't say I knew every square inch, because there was no security guard or chaperone. And once you went in with Liz, it was like open season, as long as you could leave a trail of breadcrumbs, you don't get lost. Now, this has every type of costume that you could possibly want from any period. Like, I don't know where, from Stone Age to current. So, you walk in, you guys, and there are rows that really look a half a mile long. They just disappear into nothing, each row. And there are 50,000 rows. And then of those 50,000 rows, there's 2 stacks above them. Why? These were categorized by year, not even by period. If you wanted something from some whatever, they needed to know, was it 1590 or was it 1560 or anywhere in between? Because these costumes were dated by the period that they applied to. Then you have military, you have dress, you have current, you have all, whatever, I don't know, chambermaid, queen, everything down the line dated by year. Then, okay, so there's just jillions of these massive triple rows. And then there were these like in-between spots where there was a big open area, in between like a jillion rows. And it was this massive, Project Runway, please. These massive tables where fabric would be thrown out over it, and there were, street seamstresses, tailors, but, they were making it. And just like bolts of stuff thrown everywhere with women around this table, sometimes with costumers or whatever, but just shearing these fabrics and just making them, doing stuff to them, handing them over, just massive bolts. So you would come around the back end where the rows finally ended, if you can believe it. But those spaces were like in between periodically rows. I guess they had to yank stuff and be able to sew it or do whatever, right away. So you're at the back end of the rows. Now, those are all the dressing rooms. I am telling you guys, there's minimum 100 dressing rooms. If